Hello, how's it going? Oh, I have such sights to show you. This is going to be lovely, quite lovely indeed. Anyway, uh, I feel like this is an appropriate response from my esteemed guest.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Hello, everyone! If the title of the video didn't give it away, my innocence is about to be fucking destroyed and shat on as I proceed to be tainted by the existence of the legendary and infamous character that I have only so far heard from Dunn and White and others. The Maggie fucking Mae Fish. A character so unbelievable that I have actually been more scared of them than most furries.
Well, she did do an actual furry thing, so...
If there is a reason to be scared of furries, this woman is it. And as a nice little cherry on top to you people seeing my innocence be destroyed, I'm also doing this on 4 hours of sleep, so let's see how this woman pisses me off.
I'm very excited. Let's say, hey, sup, Cyrac? Hey, Wolvie. Good to see you. Alrighty. Well, this is going to be funny. Anyway, let's start things off.
Cyric, do not insult people by saying Maggie Mae Fish is one. She is a fictional character that somehow exists.
Hello there. I actually did see you because I am an all-seeing queen. And if you're hallucinating me right now, that just means that you're on your first steps in the hero's journey. You're going to achieve the impossible, rise against all odds, make fame and fortune for generations of offspring to come. Unless your name is Brian! Oh, Brian, suck! I am so sorry! That's just in your DNA! There's never been a hero named Brian. And if there was, I assure you, that was not the real name. I'm sorry, Brian, watching this, but you've been born someone else. Anyways, do you guys know that clouds are made out of marshmallows? I know, you'd think cotton candy, but...
So along with daddy issues, she has probably several hundred boyfriend issues.
Heroing, except you, Brian, you're gonna sit there and think about what you might have done.
Most of us know what the hero's journey, or the monomyth, is, even if you think...
So, before we go any further, let's define what the hero's journey actually is. It is a pattern series of is basically pattern recognition.
It's a trend throughout history that holds to even modern day because it's a system that works really well. It's not an exact science, and there is a little bit of wiggle room you have with it, and you can get creative. But it is basically like a template that you can use.
It also shows up throughout myths across cultures.
Yeah, because it's just something that works everywhere. It's kind of like a universal thing.
Mm-hmm. And what I would like to go over really quick is the hero's cycle. So, hero's journey cycle is the essential journey where you go from a Let's...
Just click on it, it'll expand.
Yeah. Yep. So you get the call to adventure, which, funnily enough, is the reason for this whole thing.
Oh yeah, for those of you who are unaware, me and Dunn have been playing this game called Call to Adventure recently, and to spice things up, we often do bets. His bet was to make me watch this video. As you can see, I lost by 2 points.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It was great. Then we get some kind of supernatural aid.
Not happening here.
Nope. Usually some kind of, like, I guess, Obi-Wan Kenobi helping out Luke as he's attacked by the Sand People. That could be one example. A few others, like Neo and the Matrix, I think is one. And Neo getting help from Matrix stuff. There's a bunch.
She's from Cracked?
She has collaborated with Crack.
Okay.
It's odd. Anyway, okay. So then we have Thurshel Guardians, somebody who is just kind of an obstacle. They're not serious in their attempts to hurt the hero. They just are there to provide some kind of obstacle for it. Then you have a helper of some kind at the threshold, which is basically the point of no return. You have challenges and temptations throughout. You have mentor, more helper, Abyss and Rebirth. Abyss, Death, and Rebirth, kind of the darkest point in the story. Some kind of transformation, atonement, gift at the goddess, then return to the regular world. It's pretty vague, but generally most stories throughout history follow this pattern. Oh dear. Let me actually make this a tad bigger. But yeah, this is what I'm going off of. But Maggie thinks that this is BS for very, very, very strange, very, very strange reasons that we are about to get into. It's going to be fascinating. Yes, Sarah actually is a person that exists. Let's see what happens.
We don't. It's the idea that all the myths in human history can be simplified down into one common form. The concept was invented and popularized by writer and professor Joseph Campbell in his book Hero with a Thousand Faces from 1949. You've probably seen this handy little diagram in an English or screenwriting class. The hero starts at home, crosses the threshold into a larger, strange world, faces trials, and is transformed, eventually returning home a changed person. For example, Star Wars, one of the most influential films of all time, was literally written by George Lucas with the hero's journey in mind. I didn't have a harp. It's become the gold standard for how to tell the story of a hero. Campbell read thousands of myths from all over the world, all different time periods, and argued that all of them, that's right, all of them, can be boiled down into this series of steps. Well, that seems a little reductive, you might think. And to that, I would say, who are you talking to? Me explaining Joseph Campbell's theory or Joseph Campbell's theory? Because the answer to your question is yes. In his book on the monomyth, Campbell describes the hero as
the man or woman who has been able to battle past the personal and local historical limitations to the generally valid, normally human forms. His visions, ideas, and inspirations come pristine from the primary springs of human life and thought. Hence, they are eloquent, not of the present disintegrating society and psyche, but of the unquenched source through which society is born. He is an eternal man perfected, unspecific, universal man. He has been reborn.
And this is wrong. Why? Anyway. How you doing, Aspiring?
I'm waiting to see what
Yeah.
she says.
Yeah. Yeah.
Born.
Campbell argues that we can take a specific person, whether it's an ancient myth or a modern hero, pull them out of their time and place, and voila, they are all the same. And on the one hand, you can see this as a way in which we're all united in our humanity, that no matter the culture or time, there are certain truths that we uphold. But the universal truths that Campbell suggests just happen to be dripping in his own biases, fantasies, upbringing, culture, and the now extremely outdated white hetero male Christian worldview of someone raised in early 20th century America. In other words, woof.
I'm pretty sure most of the myths he got would not fall into what you just described, you dumbass.
Yes.
That's the entire point of the book.
Yep. So one of these part of this video, and I wanted to, yeah, this is the second time I'm watching this, but I figure I should watch it with Aspiring because he my buddy, and I figure
Let's
why?
torture him.
Yes, indeed, pretty much. I am quite evil, if you guys hadn't noticed.
If they haven't, they'll find out soon enough. So, she really is just a brainless sack of skin.
Yep. And this is one of her better videos.
It's like, she just saw who wrote it, and then proceeded to say, oh, he's a white heterosexual male. He's clearly biased and will only have a perspective via this, because fuck it, we can't just look at the source of, or what he's written. We have to be like, what is he? If he's not having a diversity box checked, his perspective is meaningless.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's why Tolkien is just utterly useless, and you can read gay into his works.
Let's keep going with this shit.
Alrighty.
In his writing about the history of humanity reciting stories, Campbell uses words like normal and generally valid, as if those are
Pause.
completely agreed upon values.
I want to actually read what the fuck she's trying to highlight out. Well, he's saying of the time. There's always a generally valid and norm of the time. That's just a fact. There's always going to be a majority of behavior represented by people. There is never a time when that's not the case. If there was not a general normal behavior, then that means literally everyone is being fucking... Well, even then, that means a general norm is that everyone behaves erratic. There's just always a pattern or trend that you can get in behavior. That's just the fucking case.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. But Maggie doesn't seem to think this way.
She doesn't seem to think, mate.
Oh, excellent. You have a man early. Excellent. Let me find a suitable intro. Ooh, this one.
I've had 5. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and fuck off with that question!
You know, it would have been funny if he. It would have been more funny if he said acts of terror.
Well, it was originally the question was how many sexual partners have you had, as stated by a weird guy reading from a weird Christian guy reading from a strange book to a lady he's dating. How many sexual partners have you had?
Was the man named John Borman?
I don't think John Borman's Christian at all. His name is Clay, and he's apparently the founder of an equivalent of Girls Gone Wild.
Okay. Okay, whatever. Okay, so Maggie Mae Fish doesn't understand the hero's journey. What else she does? Everything has to be through feminism. Extreme feminism.
This is more than just feminism.
This is abject crazy.
It's just a whole, this is a white man, therefore his perspective is biased and shit. As if what he says is not something that can be fit on many situations and still hold its meaning. It's very versatile. He leaves it vague for a reason. It's meant to spot trends.
Yeah, it's pattern recognition, like I keep saying.
There is a normal in life, okay? Sorry, but the straight is currently the norm. That will stop happening when they're not the majority of people. Stop hating fucking words. They have a meaning, and we use them. Stop being offended by the definition of words.
Okay, so what is our argument right now?
About the history of humanity, reciting stories, Campbell uses words like normal and generally valid, as if those are completely agreed upon values throughout all of time. They're not. He acts as though he's above the influence of time and place, that his opinions are objective.
So he hasn't said what is generally valid or normal, you dumb cunt. That's the point. The point is what is ever considered generally valid or normal at the time or wherever the place. There is a generally valid in Russia, China, India, America, everywhere. That's just a universal fact.
Yeah. It's there are universal values, and like the whole point of his Hero with 1,000 Faces is that is not so much a study on like writing. It is perfectly used for writing. It's just to explain that essentially each culture has a rites of passage, and it goes on this. Each ritual goes on this journey, and he uses myth as his ultimate example of like how a person in each culture becomes a man and what they have in common.
And he also hasn't stated an opinion. Please tell me what opinion he has stated. He hasn't said anything of his own opinions.
Right now, she's just criticizing his style of writing.
Oh, not even that. He's just criticizing his race.
Well, I have not seen the earlier part.
She hasn't even gotten to writing me.
Yep.
She's just not liking he's a white male.
His upbringing, culture, and the now extremely outdated white hetero male Christian worldview of someone.
Hey, ma'am. That is not outdated. It's kind of universal. Like,
there are perspectives from back in the day that still hold today. Or you're going to tell me that the perspective on murder should be outdated because it was that hundreds of years old that we've said murder is bad. That a white heterosexual male thing now, friendo?
like the whole idea of progressives, like the underlying quote unquote motive of progressivism in terms of the general worldview is Christian by nature. It's like the idea of trying to make things better for humanity and for other people is spawned from Christianity compared to other cultures before Christianity showed up, which was not so much.
The Hammurabi Code comes to mind.
Yeah, like they were developed. Their morals were more on practical.
Mhm.
Were more practical reasons. Like we unite because of X, Y, and Z protection. They didn't put much of an emphasis on rules of conduct and stuff. They existed, but it wasn't it wasn't explicit unless it's talk about other people and outside of their culture, other nations, and like a book of wrongs.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point, Neil. Hinduism has this in spades in its epics. Forgive me if I mispronounce this horribly. The Mahabharata. I believe that is how it's pronounced. I don't know.
Has
That's the-
5 A's in the one word.
Yeah, it's the best I can do. Sorry. Anyway. Well, let's keep going, shall we?
Opinions are objectively universal and essential. They're not. He claims that a hero is perfected, unspecific, universal, as if heroes have been made on an assembly line for thousands of years, instead of each saying something specific about the time and place they originated from. A third parenthetical. Campbell often assures us that every myth has one.
Man, I think she's
objective
missing the
reading
point
and
on
point of view.
purpose.
But even with a passing
Yeah.
knowledge of Western mythology, you know that is absolutely not true.
Okay, pause it. Pause
One
it.
of the
You know, a lot of his stuff was not just Western mythology. In his book, right? Did you read his book? His book included Indian, Native American myths. I'm pretty sure there was an Indian myth there, but it was all over the place. There was actually he rarely used explicitly a Western mythology myth. The closest is like Norse, but
Well, here's the thing.
but it's not. It's not usually Norse mythology was not usually was not considered Western until recently.
Yeah, what you were probably referring to with Western is very new and doesn't have many myths. Most of the myths are Eastern. Greece, Roman, Chinese. Those are Eastern.
Well, the thing is Greek is technically part of the Western Western canon because of the influence Greece had on Western culture.
True. I just don't know if that's how she's referring when she keeps saying Western, because I keep thinking she's referring to just America.
She's also about to make a very, very, very stupid false comparison.
I'm curious, what's she saying about Odysseus?
Basically, the idea is that Campbell assures us that every myth has one objective reading and point of view. This is not true. for one. However, let's kind of do this.
Reading and point of view. But even with a passing knowledge of Western mythology, you know that that is absolutely not true. Odysseus.
I don't. This is asinine. This is really asinine. Nothing that he. I don't think that he said this. My understanding of what Mr. Campbell said is that he said that you can place these patterns on every single myth in existence.
And it will hit some of it. I need to reread Hero with a Thousand Faces again, just to make sure. But I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's his point was not very rigid.
She also does not bring up a quote for this one like she did previously. So what the fuck are you interpreting?
You need to bring in more quotes if you're trying to counter points.
Yep.
Because you sound like you're making up bullshit.
Yeah, because
or overly summarizing. It's the equivalent of you're trying to talk about a long movie or a TV series you've seen, but you kind of forgot about it, and you're trying to counter it in a video without pre-recording, and talk about the reasons you don't like a show, but you can't bring examples.
Yeah, and she's gonna say some weird stuff right now that just doesn't work.
One of the most famous mythic heroes was a clever hero to the Greeks, but to the Romans, he was a deceitful villain, even calling him Cruel Odysseus. The Greek playwright Sophocles portrayed Odysseus in completely different ways, even within his own plays. A commonsensical realist in Ajax, but a scheming sophist in Philoctetes. So, which one is the objective truth of the myth of Odysseus? Ironically, one of the actual consistent themes of the Odyssey is that there is no objective retelling of events. It is
no wrong. No. Okay. I want to hear the rest of your point, Maggie. Miss Mae Fish. What do you mean?
Storyteller who is motivated to tell the tale in a specific way, for a specific reason, to a specific audience, with a specific goal in mind.
No, that was not the Odyssey. No.
Also, that's
multiple views of the same character. That's not the story of the Odyssey.
Yeah, like every time the characters were telling stories behind were to people that did not have any reason to care about the why. Like Odysseus who talks about the Odyssey the most, was like the quote unquote main narrator of his journeys, was talking to this random king in this island that had no connection to the Trojan War or anything. He didn't even it only was until he didn't even know he was Odysseus. And like Odysseus already had a reputation, and which he finds out it's Odysseus. The whole reason Odysseus told the stories is the equivalent of, what happened, bro? Man, you look terrible. And then there was Menelaus and Helen of Troy talking about the end of Troy. They were just telling it to Odysseus' son. And then afterwards, there's two major storytelling, and then the actual ending went through as normal. It wasn't so much. That was not part of the Odyssey. The Odyssey was not about specific goals. And also Sophocles. The reason why he portrays Odysseus differently in each of his plays is that if I remember right, Sophocles was the playwright who's known for making more complex characters in his plays, and as an observation of where the reason the tragedies happen in each of the play was because of the character's personal because of the relationship between characters rather than like Aeschylus, where it's a character flaw that caused the tragedy. Wait, or is it Euripides who is the more character? It's quite hard for me to remember which of the three to distinguish Sophocles and Euripides. I think it's Euripides actually with the interpersonal characters. I think Sophocles was more on the philosophical side. I think. I need to refresh myself on Greek playwrights.
Totally understandable. But yeah, this argument is nonsense, partially because he's not talking about different heroes. He's talking about the universal story structure that most people hold to.
Or just the elements. The elements. And it's more of like, here's the elements of a hero's journey, of what's the archetypical hero's journey, and here are the reasons why it exists in these cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Also, having different versions, interpretations, and deliveries of a story does not necessarily mean not each one fits the hero's journey. That's the point of the hero's journey. It's very versatile. And even if you change certain things to deliver it differently, unless they change fucking everything, the story is still going to fit the hero's journey in some way or another.
Also, the hero's journey is technically not even a structure. It's not even like a plot structure. They're like elements of like thematic and arcs, but not so much of like here use the hero's journey as your main writing tool.
It's essentially you have an understanding of just psychology relating around storytelling, due to the fact that, you know, everybody does this. You might as well be aware of it so you can either consciously use it or consciously not use it. It really
or
depends.
consciously subvert it. Like,
yeah.
Like you can have Campbell's observation of a hero's journey has a lot more elements, like talking about the relationship between the mother, the hero and his mother, and the hero and his father, as like one of the main points of the journey. Which is like, that would be interesting if you're like a writer or an analyst. It's like, oh, this story actually did this element. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Yep.
And although Joseph Campbell likes to see himself as the ultimate objective voice speaking for all of humanity, at the end of the day, he too is simply a storyteller, motivated to tell his tale in a specific way, for a specific reason, with a specific goal in mind, with all of his biases and motives intact. The way that he strips myths of culture and intent mirrors the way that he wishes to strip himself of culture and intent. A perfect man, unbeholden to the timeline of history. A hero, he might say, about himself. But
he's just a professor. He just made a book. Which maybe was his thesis to get a PhD or it's afterwards. But he just wrote a book about culture because he was fascinated by it. It just became popular.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yep.
You're really assuming a lot about this man.
Yes, she is. It's why this.
There's a lot of projection.
yeah,
Man, I feel like I'm listening to people complaining about the latest woke media stuff because it's like, oh, the same style of argument. Like,
mhm. And the major problem is essentially that Maggie. Well, one of my friends, Wisp, says that Maggie is clearly a schizoid. I don't know how true that is, but she definitely seems to portray herself in a way that makes it easy to believe that she is a schizoid. It's a phrenic.
she's
I just think
seems
she's
more
retarded.
like at most I think she's a narcissist. At worst, I think she's a narcissist.
She definitely is self-deluded.
Yeah. Yep. So we have another guest in the back. Please welcome Mr. Codex. Okay, where's the purge?
The Bay Breaker himself.
Oh no, a Necron.
You dare, sir.
Yes, Spike Templars forever.
Attracted many.
Hmm.
I forgot how. Wow, what a condescending person. Jeez. Yeah, she is
It does seem
really
that way.
awful.
Yeah, I hate that the smugness is torture.
Especially since she's dissing on someone who seems very humble and just had some nice observations he wanted to share.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Does seem that way.
Yeah, I don't know how she got 100K plus.
Because
could
she's
be,
not the only one who's
when-
fucking insane.
Well, also, when was her YouTube channel? When did her YouTube channel blow up? Like, it could be a case where like she was part of the 2008 era, 2008 to 2016 era, where on YouTube, where people on YouTube were generally more quote unquote well respected and review as
So- So she's actually a failed actress who's turned to YouTube. Her first video was 4 years ago.
oh my god! Wait,
Damn.
she was a failed actress.
Yeah.
May-
she's-
That
A lot of
explains the narcissism.
Mhm.
Yeah, it does seem a trend that a lot of the terrible YouTube essayists are failed writers or actors or actresses. And are just really fucking bitter and don't understand that they're just too stupid to succeed in those areas.
Mhm. Yeah.
The failed man, that explains a lot. That
Yeah.
actually explains it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It explains so much.
yeah,
Yep.
unfortunately. It also explains her stupid skits.
Yep. Yep. We're about to get worse, folks.
Oh,
Oh
God.
no, this is the more intellectual side.
Yep.
Here's the objective truth. Campbell is very much beholden to his time and place, as are the stories that we tell. And the journey of understanding someone else's perspective is much more worthwhile. One that has the real danger of challenging our own point of view and assumptions about the world,
You
but
can't
has the
handle
potential
that.
to shape us into a better person than who we were before we stepped outside our front door. It probably helps
Also,
you understand.
I'm pretty sure he's okay with that. Your
Yeah,
brain
he would
is
actually
dead.
agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
He made something that followed trends. He's saying they can all have this one similarity across the entire world. He is not saying not to see what those values entail. He
Yeah,
seems
and
actually
plus-
very interested in that.
Yeah, like you could see it a lot in his book. Actually, if you read his book with just wanting to hear what he has to say, and yeah, he was kind of.
Just
I never got the whole him. I don't get the whole arrogant complex. It didn't come across in his book.
Whatever
Or any
she's
of his
shown of
books.
him hasn't come off as that as well. It just seemed like they're all very vague and very accepting.
Wait,
Mhm.
Point.
apparently she has not read an academic book.
It's very dense.
You're supposed to read.
I don't know. I don't know. I think she only saw his interviews, and like, yeah, he may be more confident in his interviews, but that's like, but that's like standard professor. Like, come on, if you've been studying for all your life on this specific subject, and you got essentially your dream job, and you turned out to make a big hit, you can be a little self-confident.
Confidence
Yeah,
isn't arrogance. You're allowed to be confident in a subject you fucking wrote.
Indeed.
And that people want to hear you.
And Joseph Campbell, if I tell you that he was a raging misogynist who believed women could not be heroes, that they're just prizes at the end for the hero to be won, and the closest they can come is by giving birth. And also he taught at an all-women's college, telling them all that they can't be heroes. And when I tell you that his ideas have shaped the way that we live, and especially shaped the worldview of men who are told to see themselves as a hero of their own mythic tale, I mean it. But hey, don't take my word for it, take his.
Contact.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, one of your earlier quotes, he mentioned both men and women as being the hero. Because the myths will have female heroes.
Yeah, he made it.
Atalanta.
He even explains certain things. Let me. I bet I could find something. Hold on. I'm gonna pull it. Okay, I'm gonna pull out. You may continue the video. I may find what any statements he says about a heroine. Does this have an index?
Well, he
there is-
said in this video, he mentioned men and women as being potential heroes. Because you cannot read that many fucking myths and not get female heroines. They exist in all cultures, pretty much.
Yeah.
Even as just a
Have you heard of-
subversion.
Have you heard? Has anybody heard of Atalanta? Anybody?
Yes.
Yep.
I just referenced it a little while
Several
ago.
times.
Atlanta, the female hunter. She was in the fucking she was in some versions she's with Jason with the Argonauts.
Yep. Precisely.
And nothing in this quote says women are a prize. They're just saying you don't need to look at boys and wondering whether or not they're competition. You're not
There's
competing
also
with
two
guys.
different. There's also a number of differences between each hero's journey, and between the heroine's journey. Heroine journeys usually include a wanting to get out of the system in which you are confined. Hero's journey are usually I have to be pushed into my journey by something external to me.
Okay, here's a quote. One of the first brought ups of a woman. It's okay. Here's a quote. This is talking about a woman. She is the other portion of the hero himself. For each is both. If his stature is that of a world monarch, she is the world. If he is a warrior, she is fame. She is the image of his destiny, which he is to release from the prison of enveloping circumstances. Essentially, he's talking about the hero as lover in this section. And also in the index brings up woman, cosmic, something about, and then as helper, and then a mythological function at 97. But essentially, she has like a lot of roles. There's also the mother goddess. Oh, here it is. Woman in the picture language of mythology represents the totality of what can be known. The hero is one who comes to know as he progresses in the slow initiation, which is life. The form of the goddess undergoes for him a series of transfiguration. She can never be greater than himself, though she can always promise more than he is yet capable of comprehending. She lures, she guides, she bids him burst his feathers, so a whole bunch of stuff. That's like initial search. Campbell. It may seem to her thinking that he's very sexist and saying like they can't be heroes, but
you literally
the thing is
the sentence that says the opposite. You literally showed it.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Yeah, and plus also the hero is all about maturing. You can people. Even nowadays, people just view the hero's journey as like, yeah, anybody can go on it. It's just like, even if Campbell did not explicitly, according to her, explicitly said that, everybody kind of gets it.
But he did explicitly say it. That's the stupidest thing. She typed it out. Him saying that. You can't ignore that. The man admitted it was both. Because of course it is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she has daddy and boyfriend issues.
It's most likely
what?
daddy issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe even mommy issues too. That's also a current trend with modern media.
Yep.
She just has issues.
Yeah.
A lot of issues.
Yep. And it's about to get weirder.
All women have to do is stop looking at the boys and wondering whether they're in competition with them. Just realize what effect you're having on the boys. It came to me at Sarah Lawrence, at the time an all-female college. I was teaching these courses on mythology, and at the end of my last year, this woman comes in, sits down, and says, "Well, Mr. Campbell, you've been talking about the hero, but what about the woman?" I said, "The woman's the mother of the hero. She's the goal of the hero's achieving. She's the protectress of the hero. She's this, she's that. What more do you want?" She said, "I want to be the hero." So I was glad that I was retiring that year and not going to teach anymore.
I think that was a joke.
That was funny because
It does seem like a joke.
Yeah, and also protectress of the hero. That seems actually kind of a big role.
Yep.
Yeah. Funny that.
You get to like, if you want to put this in the story, you are allowed to now have a strong female character be the protector of your hero character.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Yes, you can make it very muscular, a tall, muscular woman now who can protect your hero. No one would complain in a hero's journey sense.
Well,
Yep.
apparently she is.
Precisely. I even have a couple in my own books. I have a female main character who is very, very, very tall. And very, very, very strong.
If the popularity of Brienne of Tart is not evidence enough, people very much like seeing tall female women warriors.
Mm-hmm.
They have an appeal.
Mhm.
Indeed.
Good point. This is a good point. I didn't know that. Ooh, that's cool. I didn't know that either. Chris Claremont, Eliana Rasputin. She's stretching a limbo dimension with a demon. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, that's magic. She's magic. They kind of screw her up, but then again, Marvel has been screwing up the X-Men for decades. But
Is that surprising?
no, not as an X-Men fan. No, like ever since the '90s, they've been screwing up the X-Men hard. Like it's like There's a reason why most of the X-Men stories that's been put on film or TV has been Chris Claremont's run from the 80s and 70s.
And a whole lot of failed attempts at Dark Phoenix.
And guess what decade that's from? The 70s, I think. 70s or 80s.
Either way.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Let's keep going.
Can you believe it? In Stories About Stories,
What?
writer and professor Brian Atterbury points out the limits of
I don't want to be in after she.
No. Why was that skit about? Okay, whatever.
Just disgust, because she
He
tastes
said
terrible.
racism.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He said sexism.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I truly believe she is made out of those fucking marshmallows.
At least her brain is.
Yeah.
Campbell's
Yep.
mythic system.
In The Hero with a Thousand Faces, Campbell makes much of the Navajo story about the twin war gods who go on a quest for their father, the sun. They fit his pattern. He says nothing about Coyote, who doesn't. Other Navajo figures get turned into accessories to the hero's tale. Spider-Woman, for instance, the great weaver who created everything, is dismissed as a grandmotherly little dame who lives underground, and whose function is primarily to help the twin heroes.
I cannot stress.
Pause. There's a problem. Okay, here's the problem. And also, that image is not even accurate to Campbell's hero's journey, by the way. Come on, if you're gonna... That is super simplified. And he even made a graph. But anyway, the point, he was just summarizing the tale. He was just summarizing a tale as an example. You're really wanting him to actually just create a new spin on the tale and not talking about the bare basics as an example? And besides, how do you know that the original people who told him the story didn't tell him that exact way?
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you gone to a Navajo tribe and asked them to tell the tale?
Probably not.
Tribal person, come on. Because I am very confident in saying that most likely they would not care about Coyote.
Also, here's the difference. Coyote does not go on a hero's journey. She's a trickster goddess. She's like Anansi, or another character of that ilk.
Or Loki.
Or Loki, yeah. It's a good one.
Or like any other god in mythology during a story about man.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's frustrating. Very, very frustrating. And just the whole thing is like, it's like he doesn't ignore Coyote. It's just the Coyote does not fall under the parameters because she is not on a hero's journey. That's just a fact. I don't know what else to tell you other than you are insane.
You're reading it wrong.
I'm very sorry, Maggie, but you're reading books wrong. Or are you even reading a book? I'm serious. I seriously think she did not read this book.
Can she read? That's the question.
There is such a thing as an objectively wrong way to read and interpret something.
Hmm.
How much this little graph has shaped the world around us. It's used in Hollywood today as the only objective template for every story. Pretty much every book on screenwriting recycles a version of his hero's journey template. And why
No,
Campbell's-
no. A lot of the most well-known. No, it's not. A lot of the structures that are used in colleges and stuff came from stuff earlier.
Let's see what she just used as examples. Go back.
The 3-act structure.
She used a few things. I didn't get a good look at some of them. 3-act structure is probably one. The Blake Snyder beat sheet?
Blake Snyder is a writer for a book called Save the Cat. I actually recommend it. It's mainly about movie scripts. And talking about so you know how movies, each page is a minute, and he's basically talking about how you use your pages for scripts. Like it's a more detailed idea of like, okay, here are the beats of the movie that you kind of need to think about. Where, like, for example, fun and games, that is when your premise of the story you can have fun with, because all it does is leads up to the midpoint. That's when you get back when you get to serious, to the serious stuff, and then he goes into more detail about the setup. All that stuff. It's actually a very good book. I highly recommend it. Save the Cat is a good book.
I'll add that to my list.
Okay.
And it's short too. It's short and a very simple language, because it's done by a screenwriter.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Older style. He's been around for a while.
Fantastic. We have a
not a modern one.
My old enemy. You cannot hide from me.
It's Maggie Mae Fish again, isn't it?
Why are
Wait,
you coming in here
wait, you
willingly?
faced her before? You faced Von Wisham. You faced her before?
Pretty sure I have, yeah.
So that clip is accurate.
Not as accurate as it is with Game of Thrones, but yeah.
But yeah,
where are
I
we?
recommend the
in
book.
this?
Apparently, she thinks that all the well-known plot structures originally spawned from Hero with 1,000 Faces. You know, any writing class would probably, any screenwriting class would prove you wrong. Who dealt anything.
Literally any knowledge of what the Hero with 1,000 Faces is proves it wrong.
Well, yeah, I'm just talking about like plot structure stuff, like, because you see, plot has been developed for centuries. Like, we didn't even get the concept of an act. We had a concept of an act ever since a little obscure guy named William Shakespeare.
Yep.
Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of the terms that we use when talking about, well, plot structure and generally everything storytelling, a lot of the terms we use were coined by people who are still alive. So clearly, this has been in development for quite some time.
Yeah, it's been in the works,
and it's still being developed. Whether or not it's the Hero with 1,000 Faces or whatever.
And besides, Heroes of 1,000 Faces isn't even the hero's journey is not even a plot structure.
It's
it's pattern recognition. Yeah, it's just
the whole book
common
is
traits. It's common
the whole
traits.
book is just a study.
Yeah, it's just an observation of patterns of mythical characters.
And yes, people should read more Shakespeare, or at least watch watch them on YouTube because they're meant to be acted out.
Yeah, they're not really meant to be read, and it kind of does it a disservice to just read it, I think.
It's better to listen to it, but it's the best is you just sit down and watch it. Watch like it. And you can find them on YouTube.
Yeah,
unless you're J.R.R. Tolkien.
Yeah, J.R.R. Tolkien did not like Macbeth, I think, in particular.
He particularly did not like the witches, and especially not in the play form.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised that he wasn't a fan because of how inaccurate it was.
Well, I think the main thing that he hated was there were a few things he hated. I know that for one thing, he definitely hated. He was very disappointed that Birnam Wood was not literally an army of trees coming to attack Macbeth. That it was basically just a ruse. And he was like,
"Oh yeah, that was his inspiration for the Ents."
Indeed.
You see, that's when you're angry with a product or a movie, you just use it for your future work.
You come up with your own version.
With blackjack and elves.
And hookers.
Not the hookers part. I'm a hardcore Catholic man. That's the art.
Indeed. Midsummer Night's Dream. Oh yeah, I love Midsummer Night's Dream. Midsummer Night's Dream is great. And
my favorite is As You Like It.
I think one of my favorite ones is the one with my favorite adaptation of that one is when it is the Kevin Kline as Bottom version of the play. Such a good play. Such a good version. I love it.
All right, I think we daddled long enough.
Yep.
The version of his hero's journey template.
Hey,
Campbell asserts with every other breath that he's figured it out. He's given you the key to storytelling, which maybe explains why sometimes stories from Hollywood feel so samey. Executive.
Simple.
That Marvel being samey does not have a lot to do with the hero's journey.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
it has to do with lesson time in the pipeline, as well as a lack of creativity on the part of the people there.
And honestly, it would be an improvement if that was their problem.
Like enforced. It's basically enforced the lack of creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also it's like, no, the main problem is that you're also kind of, we consume story for fun now. It's like,
it's not meant to teach us
we have
anything.
And we have so much content. We have so much stuff that you see the cracks. It's the you're exposed to something for so long that you start seeing the cracks on something. You're just familiar with it.
Uh-huh.
Down to your professors and fellow creators are giving feedback and notes based off of this guy's ideas from the 1950s. And I don't know if you know the 1950s, but it doesn't take long to figure out that maybe he might have missed the mark on a thing or two. And his influence didn't just stop at Hollywood storytelling. Campbell's ideas affect our everyday lives, what we're allowed to become, how we see ourselves, how others treat us. You can see his influence on everything, from the current stripping.
Really?
Jesus
Christ.
That is quite a collection of things.
This is more absurd than when people were like, this is all Joel's fault from the fucking Last of Us 2. She's blaming all the societal problems on Joseph Campbell's A Hero with 1,000 Faces. What the fuck?
Okay, for one part, it's like, yeah, it is kind of Joel's fault in The Last of Us 2, but the story did not properly justify
the why.
That was just poorly told. It was poorly told. But anyway, and two, what? What? No, Campbell does not have that much of an impact.
I'm pretty sure if you ask Trump if he knows who Joseph Campbell is, he'll be like, who?
Huh? Who's
No, I read
that?
Joseph Campbell all the time, okay? I read in my spare time.
If Trump actually knows who fucking Joseph Campbell is and what he's written, I will genuinely vote for him next time he tries an election because I'd be so fucking
Well,
impressed.
Well, that
'Cause
depends
I'm-
if he manages to make it to that.
Because I genuinely think if I asked all of the people going for president, if they read it, half of them will be like, who?
They probably have read The Prince. That's it.
Probably.
But
Also,
no,
this
no, like
is-
Joseph Campbell is influential, but not that influential as far as you.
Also,
You're delusional. Like Joseph Campbell didn't care about people's bodily autonomy. He only cared about mythology. He just wanted to talk about some cool stuff that he found about mythology.
yes.
I'm gonna say this, and I don't give a shit what people say when I do say it. I generally think her biggest daddy issue is that her dad either died before he could, or just neglected to beat sense into her, so she would grow up with a fucking brain.
Damn, dude.
Or he did too much beating.
No.
As written scene by scene as the movie was made. Oh gosh, it's awful.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
Man, the funny thing is, you can have pre-made scenes and then still do a good story about it, because that's what Christopher McQuarrie's been doing with Mission Impossible. But
People have talent.
Christopher McQuarrie is actually a good writer.
He's extremely talented.
Yeah.
And also you need a smooth production. Like scene by scene is just your crew you have to prepare for it. Like it is something that is planned. It doesn't seem like it was planned that way.
Well, Rogue Nation
was rushed.
Yeah, Rogue Nation didn't have a script, and it was a really good film.
Fallout didn't have a script either.
Yeah.
They've shown that they
that's
know
what I
how
found,
to
too.
get
That's
their
what it
plots to include certain set pieces that they want. They take a lot of time to include that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised that they just focus on the set pieces first, and then they figure out the rest of it.
Which actually is perfectly fine for an action movie, and it's impressive that they managed to make something that good using that model.
Honestly, that makes sense for an action movie, because the set pieces are what people came to watch action movies for, right? Like, what is the cool action you're gonna show?
Like, get the set pieces, and then you think, how do I connect them later on?
Yeah.
That's fair. These people clearly can't do that, but the writers.
Well, that's
MI
because they're trying to write a comic book story, and that requires a different way of doing it.
It does, but I think if you could get talented people to do that, it would still work. They're just not talented. They're just hacks and lazy.
I think it's the lazy part I think it's the lazy part that is, you could be very talented but still be very lazy, or you'd be pressured. That doesn't make you a hack. It's only if you had all the time in the world. Then,
well, I still think they're hacks.
There's also the issue that she is about to say, like just dating this video horribly. Like right now, Roe v. Wade is a big controversy. It's been overturned. Now the rights to this sort of thing to abortion is now up to the individual states, and there are problems everywhere with the blanket universalism of the ban on abortion that we're going to be struggling with for a while. However, the idea that Joseph freaking Campbell has any influence on the overturning of Roe v. Wade is freaking ridiculous.
Yeah, Joseph Campbell apparently is a secret mastermind behind.
Yeah, I'm just.
He is.
Just, I have one response to this.
That is just goddamn ridiculous.
You put a
This is
Kojima.
what happened. This is what happens when you have the Habsburg brain.
That or crippling apophenia. Because this, I believe that she has apophenia. I say that
apophenia?
The perception of meaningful connections when there are none.
Oh no!
Oh, yeah. It's very common in today's media landscape. Let me just say.
Unfortunately, yes.
I can believe that.
But yeah, I think people like her have apophenia. Preston Jacobs, I think, has a measure of apophenia, but he has it under control and has managed to harness his apophenia. Just Right has apophenia.
Does seem that way.
I mean, most YouTube video essayists have apophenia. I'm pretty sure.
You develop apathy. The thing is, when you do YouTube full time, you develop apophenia. Like, I would even argue a lot of people who spends their channels doing covering everything woke. It's like it's a little bit too much. Is getting there, in my opinion.
Like Doomcock, you mean?
Those are extreme examples. Those are extreme examples.
I don't think that Doomcock has apophenia. I just think that he's gullible.
Maybe.
But I'm talking about people who are like for example, Rings of Power. Like I don't think it's gonna be a good show, but it's not gonna be. It's gonna be bad, not because of woke. It's gonna be bad because of other stuff. But
it's bad
shitty writing.
Because it's gonna be bad because it's the standard Hollywood mentality that has been going on for so long. It's just that this one has a little bit sprinkling of the modern day wokeness stuff, and it's just no, it's not the sprinkling. It's just the same issue that we have seen with adaptions before, like even back in the 70s.
Yeah, it's basically deliberate. They're basically race baiting this whole scenario with the actress who plays Deeza. Interviews.
All because because people just freaked out, like instantly, over something that is, like, in terms of Tolkien,
is kind of innocuous, really.
It's minor. It's like dwarf women have beards for one thing, and then dwarves have. She's black now. It's like, well, you could easily explain it. Like me as a Tolkien fan, I could easily make an argument on that, but that's just like a thing. It's just different, right? Out of all the things that they could have screwed up, this seems kind of minor.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, it is pretty minor.
Yeah, it's pretty minor. There's some big ones coming over, like, oh no, you're compressing the second age. That's a big kill.
And changing the dwarf timeline of the kings. That's a big deal, actually.
Well, that's partly caused by the compression bomb.
And as well as the making Elendil and an adulterer.
Oh wait, they're doing that?
Oh god.
Supposedly there are scenes of Galadriel and Elendil having an affair of some kind.
Oh, that's gonna be fun to tear into.
If that happens, I'm gonna have to drink.
Oh, they have already made Isildur a kind of lost millennial type character.
Oh, that's
What?
even perfect.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yep.
I like. Is it like in the show? Is it like an actual clip showing that?
It's an article from the actor describing his character.
Oh, of course, it's actors.
Yeah.
Look, okay. But for me, when it comes to anything from actors' mouths during interviews, look at this. I kind of view them as dumb as fishes.
They are dumb as fishes, but that's the take that they're going with.
I hope that.
Let's see, who was Elendil married to?
I don't think they describe. I don't think, as far as I read, in the Silmarillion specifically, did not describe Elendil's wife, because Tarmariel is
His wife has no name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not every character has a name. It's only the ones that actually did something important.
Yeah. But yeah, she is described. The guy playing Isildur described him as he's a character trying to find himself. He's in conflict with his dad because his dad wants him to be a sailor or something along those lines.
That is so generic. That is so nothing burger.
Mm-hmm.
He's like over 100 years. Granted, he dies relatively young for an elf. But...
Well,
no. He's a Numenorian man. Numenorian man.
Elendil. I was thinking about Gilgalad.
Yeah, but still, Isildur. That just sounds like you just gave the most nothing statement ever. I got no information.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
You basically just made an assumption. It's like, okay, what is the worst take a person could do? Oh, I know. He's gonna move. And then the film. Yeah, whatever. Speaking of idiots.
Of women and pregnant people's bodily autonomy to the fantasy narrative that a good guy with a gun is going to show up and save us all. In a...
Nothing wrong with that, necessarily.
Well, the question is, does anybody really believe the good man with a gun will save us all is an actual thing that happens in anything other than action movies?
I mean, considering how people act about movies on Twitter, I wouldn't put it past them.
She has what she needs to touch grass.
Unironically, yes.
She needs to touch grass. Not the grass inside of a city or the suburb that she's living in. Like, go out in the country. Like, go out in the middle of Kansas and touch the grass there.
Yep.
But the halfling's leap will cloud her judgment.
Go to the Harfoots and have their apple seeds.
Your love of the halfling's leaf has clearly slowed your mind.
Oh, stop hushing my buns.
I bet she would actually join Saruman.
Well, no, it's Well, thing is, Saruman's like, do not speak to me of Radagast the Brown. He is a foolish fellow. I admit he's a bit odd. Lives a solitary life. It's not that. It's his excessive consumption of mushrooms. They've added mind and yellowed his teeth. Best line in The Unexpected Journey. Yeah. Absolute best line. That is hilarious.
Unexpected Journey is the best of that trilogy.
Yeah, and Christopher Lee. God bless that legend. God bless him.
Yep.
It's such a Chad.
Yep.
I'm not looking forward to the day that people will use him as an example of misogyny.
That will happen eventually.
Yep.
I will
Anyway.
legit. I will be very, very pissed off if they do that. Because
same here.
I would make a party out of it, roasting it.
Oh, I would definitely mock it, but I would be very angry because legit, Chuck Norris wishes he was as cool as Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee is literally Forrest Gump.
Yep.
Real, intangible way, he has limited our imagination of who and what makes a hero.
No, he hasn't.
That's Twitter talk.
No, you guys actually have, because we have seen a lot of your guys who have made shows, and it's the same thing. Like your most creative was Steven Universe, and a lot of even your fans who liked that story hated the ending, where you forgave a person who was one of the worst beings possible.
Genocide, essentially, on a galactical scale.
Yeah, you're forgiven. It's like the equivalent of you end the 6th movie of the Star Wars trilogy with Luke throwing his laser. I'm a Jedi, like my father before me, and Palpatine goes, "You know what? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to do this. All right, we're gonna call off the battle. All right, we're gonna stop with the Star Destroyer project. I give up. Would you forgive me?" And then Luke goes, "Sure."
No, I'll do you one better. Condemning Adolf Hitler.
Yeah, that's basically what I heard.
Yeah.
And by the way, Steven Universe is on the higher tier.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about the worst.
Yeah, like She-Ra by all accounts. I've never seen it. I've just heard really, really bad things about that particular show. Anyway.
So, and plus, like, it's quite hard to notice everything the same. Why do you make your strong female characters have a freaking side cut and have the hair cut short? Why not make that longer? Make that side longer. Keep the long hair, but keep the short side.
Because
what insanity did Maggie spew? The same as always.
Joseph Campbell is responsible for Roe v. Wade being overturned.
And Trump.
Yep, that was
Republicans. Republicans. I'm pretty sure if you asked Campbell, he was pretty much a Democrat, I bet.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yep. There's also a bunch of other weird stuff, like Joseph Campbell is apparently the boogeyman around every single problem that the Western world faces in terms of sameness and superhero stuff. That's really quite stupid. Anyway.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. We might just kind of do this one and conclude. I'm not sure.
To know the man's work, we should first take a look at the man, Joseph Campbell himself. What did he believe? Why did he believe it? This is an easier question to ask than to answer, because Campbell himself was extremely inconsistent in his own views. Campbell grew up idolizing Douglas Fairbanks, the silent movie star from films like Robin Hood and Zorro. This is probably why Campbell considers himself a maverick.
I see myself as a maverick.
If there was a machine, Campbell would totally rage against it. He's against rigid structural systems, just like the hero outsiders of his childhood soaps.
How in heaven's name are you going to find your own track if you are always doing what society tells you to do? I also spent a year teaching in a boys' prep school. Those who followed their zeal, their bliss, they have led decent, wonderful lives. Those who did what dad said they should do because it's safe, found out it's not safe.
So can we pause here?
Disaster.
But this quote is...
So Joseph Campbell, right here, is saying that you should not always do what society tells you to do or what your parents tells you to do. How exactly do you reconcile that with storytelling being samey because of him?
Because Maggie's insane and has clear apophenia.
Well, it's not even that. It's like it's obvious confirmation bias at best and delusional psychosis at worst.
Yeah, it seems like she can't have an opinion on Campbell. Like, she's just projecting whatever her version of Campbell onto the actual man. Like,
And she thinks that his worldview is based in a heteronormative, a male perspective, when it's just patterns don't care about your interpretations. Patterns are patterns.
Well, you can argue that Joseph Campbell was heteronormative, but
He was.
see how that has much impact on this pattern.
Yeah, especially when he's looking at various different myths across various different time periods and cultures. They all have the same things happening. That's just how it works.
Is in the middle of a 300-page book about his extremely rigid hero cycle structure. One so
It's not
innate to
rigid.
human nature that supposedly no one has ever.
And that's not even the correct one. It's missing a lot of details. It's just very simplified.
Maggie,
it's
you're lazy.
It's also not rigid. It's very general.
like I'm pretty sure he mentions that stuff doesn't have stuff. Not all of it shows up, and you can clearly tell that it's not the book version because there's no Belly of the Beast, which should be right next to the threshold.
Mm-hmm. So, Aspiring, what do you think?
I think he got dumber. I think he's becoming dumber.
It's like the feeble mind spell from D&D.
So
maybe we should get White Dragon in here. He'll probably help.
I would actually enjoy having White being tortured with me.
That would just revigorate him. Just bring in another torture.
I know White hates her as well, so.
No, he doesn't hate her. He loves her.
Then invite him on.
He says all kind things about her.
Yeah,
indeed.
I'm messaging him right now. Let's keep going.
Ever crafted tales that deviate from it. We have. He often repeats societal norms with crafted nature. One so innate to human nature that supposedly no one has ever crafted tales that deviate from it. We have.
Citation needed, please.
Yeah, there's some major problems with this line of thinking. It's not a matter of the fact that we haven't created details that deviate from it. It's that there are a lot of that it follows the same patterns. It's just factual. You're an idiot.
This seems to be a very common misinterpretation for her. It's a pattern. It's not an instruction manual.
Yes. It's essentially she has read the book wrong. She just doesn't understand what the point is.
I don't think she even read the book.
Yeah, I kind of don't think so either.
I bet she just read the Spark Notes.
Which Spark Notes can be useful, but maybe not if you're doing this.
Yep.
I have a hard time believing you.
Repeats societal norms from his time as immutable truths. Things that are now completely outdated. Everything from gender roles to gender expression. to compulsory heterosexuality, even Protestant work ethic are all set in stone. He insists.
Citation needed.
Yeah.
And compulsory heterosexuality. I don't think that's anywhere in there.
All it is just the hero as a lover, and he likes a lady, and the woman.
Also,
he's just observing a pattern. It's like, this is what a hero is, and how you apply it, and like it represents a man, a boy becoming a man. And yes, patterns comes from the common denominator. And spoiler alert, the most common denominator is heterosexuality. They like men like women.
Yep.
And you can argue that it was enforced, to which I would say, in this context, it doesn't matter.
And also, Protestant work ethic set in stone. Let's actually define that.
Protestant work ethic came from it came from a reality. Okay, so it came from the fact that people asked Martin Luther about how to best to serve God, and he basically said, if you are a shoemaker, make the best shoes possible, which is how Protestants became known for being extremely hard workers, is because they kind of view doing the best at your job as being service to God.
That seems perfectly logical and normal.
And what people call the Protestant work ethic, it just means you are extremely hardworking, which has existed
for centuries.
Since before that. The Protestant work ethic is just is more of a theological term.
And also, it's a good state of being, really.
Yeah, it's a philosophy.
It's a problem-free
philosophy.
Indeed.
Which I'm pretty sure Maggie Mae Fish has no knowledge of it.
No,
because
clearly she can't read.
Yeah, she's also probably great.
Even Protestant work ethic are all set in stone.
Yeah, so just the idea that Protestant work ethic's being set in stone is a bad thing just kind of shows her mentality that she's a lazy person.
I bet she got all of this from talking with her friends who are more knowledgeable.
How many of you are willing to bet that the script that she made for this either doesn't exist or is a first draft?
First draft, most likely.
Yeah, let's go with that. I'm down to believe that.
Like she just
do you even draft this?
I'm gonna be assuming that she does weekly videos or
no,
where
it's not weekly.
Oh, what's her rate?
Her rate is usually one a month.
She must spend a lot of her time on her editing.
Yep. So
than her writing. She should really just have like people look over.
Yeah.
I am being more gracious to her than most people, but I'm sorry, but this is not a good argument.
Nope.
This would not be a passing grade in a competent college.
I would hope not.
Maybe it's if your college is conveniently like one of those crazy lefty ones, and your professor turns out to be a someone who is crazy as you, which you think is a high chance. I doubt that it's a high chance in modern colleges with all of its problems.
Mm-hmm.
Believe me, I work in one.
Oh.
Yeah. There's some weirdness there. Anyway. Yeah, she does. Yeah, it's every month. It's once a month. It's kind of amazing that her quality is that low.
That he and the heroes that he recognizes should rebel against these systems, while also reassuring himself and the heroes that he recognizes that the world is actually perfect and doesn't need to change. Here's Campbell saying as much from The Power of Myth, the PBS series that did a lot to secure his place in pop culture infamy.
When people say to me, do you...
Pop culture
infamy.
Everybody likes Joseph Campbell.
Yeah.
Most people love him.
Yeah.
You're just insane.
Wait, hold on. Let's hear the quote.
You have optimism about the world, how terrible it is. I said, yes, just say it's great. Just the way it is.
That people like him should work within the system.
Pause it.
I don't think it would help.
Huh?
I'd like some more context, Miss Fish.
It sounds to me that the original clip was him being an optimist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he was talking about how to be against pessimism because where pessimism goes, does not make you grow like a hero in the hero's journey.
Precisely.
Like, in fact, it makes you into a villain. That's kind of one of the things interesting about most heroes and villains, even the tragic heroes, are optimists in some form. Villains are pessimists.
Why are there two of you now?
I don't know. I think this is a weird internet problem.
That's very odd. Okay.
Okay, so what is he saying this one?
You to change the system, but it would help you to live in the system as a human being.
This is like saying that at the end of Star Wars, Luke should have joined the Empire, which...
Wrong. Okay, no. He's talking about you as a person. He's talking about how to grow up.
Yeah.
It's like the Empire is not the only potential system you can live under. Okay.
Yeah.
And plus, like at that point, at the end of like even at the end of New Hope, Luke has become a man at that point. And when you become a man, you have values. And like part of a hero's journey, you probably forget about this part, Maggie Mae Fish. I bet you're not even going to bring this up. That the hero finds a truth, right? And then he brings back to his old world with that truth and share it with everyone else.
Yep. All Mr. Campbell is saying is
within the systems.
I don't think it would help you to change the system, but it would help you to live in the system as a human being.
He's just correcting like what the hero's journey is. More.
Yeah.
Yep. This person is not mentally stable.
No, she is not.
Very cognitively impaired, to
Star Wars,
put it that way.
Luke should have joined the Empire, which, bold move, Cotton. His mantra, which you've probably heard, not knowing that it came from him, I certainly didn't, is follow your bliss.
If you do follow your bliss, you put yourself on a kind of track that has been there all the while waiting for you. and the life that you ought to be living is the one you're living somehow.
I've never
If
heard
you're
this.
following your bliss. I mean, you're having that joy, that refreshment, that life all the time.
Which does sound nice.
Pause.
Sounds like he's saying, no.
He's just talking about being content.
Yeah.
Contentment.
Which is rational and normal. It's the idea that if you like your job, you'll never work a day in your life. Have you ever heard that, Maggie?
Do what makes you happy, essentially.
Yeah. Now I'm kind of... Maggie, do you have a happy life?
Let's
I don't think she does.
say no.
I'm
To
willing
me,
to bet no.
Based on your writing, it seems like you're kind of miserable. I'm kind of
Pessimistic at
sad
best.
now.
Yeah, pessimistic at best.
Yep. Yep. Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even make fun of her anymore. She's just sad.
Lead with bravery and good things will happen.
Follow your bliss. I mean, find.
By the way, this woman has 165,000 subscribers.
I assume people have low standards. Very low standards at best.
There's a whole tons of people.
You know,
yeah,
that's your dragon locking you in.
Looking at the current state of things, seeing all the unionizing and workers coming together, having to fight for basic human decency, it's clear his point of view comes from a place of extreme privilege.
Same with you.
Your job to live in your van, you must not be brave enough. Never mind that you have a kid and you probably need to keep your health insurance. His framework for bravery is exclusively for those who have the social mobility and hard power, cough, 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 white men, to make...
Oh, you're racist now.
He never examines further than this. He doesn't entertain the nuance that follow your bliss could be someone else's. My mom couldn't stock the refrigerator this month. Campbell is arguing that if you're stuck in
Something I legit do not believe that you have ever had to struggle with.
Joseph Campbell grew up in the time of the Great Depression. That is some balls to say that.
Yeah, like, don't you realize, Maggie Mae Fish, if you know your history, people who were adults in the 50s.
She brings that up actually. So
about the Great Depression?
Yep. It's...
Oh my goodness. I'm just... And plus, like, I don't think Campbell would probably agree with you on a whole bunch of stuff. If you treated him with respect, it's like, yeah, the work could be better. Like, he's not saying that the world is... He's talking about a mindset. His personal philosophy. Philosophy, right? Philosophy is like the ideal. Philosophy talks about ideals. And then you have to do the practical. And plus, also, Maggie, I feel like your background, you either grew up in privilege, or you have extreme privilege now, because you have like a big. You probably, I don't know about how many people pay for your Patreon, but I'm pretty sure you have made more money than me. And you live in, I'm assuming, I'm not sure where you live, but I'm going to assume, based on you being an failed actress, you live in Los Angeles, which is one of the richest parts to live in.
Okay, so she has a range of $1 to $25, and she has 850 patrons.
How much money in total per month?
She doesn't say.
I'm pretty sure you can see that on Patreon, actually.
Depends. Depends on the person. You couldn't see. Oh, wow. So, okay. So this is interesting. So apparently for, okay. I'm not sure. It doesn't say specifics of how much money she makes.
That's weird.
Oh, and then there's $100 credit. So she makes anywhere from $8,500 a month and $850 a month. Most likely somewhere in between.
Well, doing relatively well for yourself, I guess.
That's like I'm gonna assume the the average right in the middle, 4,000 a month. As a person who lives in New England, that will get you an apartment. That will get you like an apartment by yourself. And if she happens to live in a house, she has good things in life.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
That doesn't invalidate his points or your points. But your points are poorly argued and feels more like you're just constantly doing personal attacks than actual arguments.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Oh, Christ.
My God.
I need to get that clip, actually.
A dead-end job that you hate. Well, that's entirely your fault. You're just not being heroic enough.
Being a hero is taking that job that you hate.
Yeah,
if it benefits somebody else.
And or yourself.
That's true.
Like doing stuff that you want. Like if you'd never know when your opportunity comes. And you have to make by. That's part being an adult, unfortunately. You know,
to quote Albus Dumbledore, you must make the choice between what is right and what is easy.
Like, talk to all the people throughout history, and like you could go from Europe to Africa to who were farmers who didn't want to become a farmer. Right? It happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did all their life. They did a farmer, they became a potter, even though they didn't want to do that. They may have moved up, or not.
We're about to get even weirder.
Oh, no.
Essential level to live your life the right way. It's an individual problem rather than a structural problem. And the only way to escape is to follow his series of steps, which is pretty convenient for him because he doesn't believe that we need to fundamentally change anything anyways. Don't get me wrong, Campbell has faced hardships, like when he was unemployed for 5 years during the Great Depression, and he, am I reading this correctly? He didn't need a job except dog sitting for a friend, and he had the free time to read for 9 hours a day? For 5 years. Oh my gosh,
what's
so
wrong
cool.
with that?
I did YouTube. I also dog sat as one of the 7 jobs that I had so that I could just pay my rent. His description.
Man, you're awfully jealous.
Exactly like
Mm-hmm.
That's I'm and plus you don't know, like maybe that was the only work he could find.
Yeah.
Do you know how embarrassing? Like,
this sounds like a spoiled rich chick, to be honest.
It does sound like that, yeah.
I'm feeling sad for her now because she's such.
This is why I'm starting to hate. There's some good white women.
Yeah, there is good ones. There's good ones, not the ones on the internet. Not the popular ones on the internet. Because the good ones are already taken.
True.
All the good people are smart enough not to be on the internet, unlike us.
Yeah.
A celebrity recounting their daily routine. His advice to other people is that he created a schedule, which, like, good for you. I guess you didn't have ADHD.
That's what people tell you to do when you have ADHD. And also, and the way you do it. Okay, there is a book that is out there that I took as part of a class because I struggle with studying, right, for college. You know, it's quite hard when you easily get distracted. And they had multiple methods. People have written books now about it. He didn't access those books. And plus, you don't know if he had that issue. Because remember, back then, they didn't have much of a... Like, psychology was still in the young days.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
This was back when you got called lazy for having dyslexia.
It's like, no, this is why we're starting to really not like crazy people. It just seems as though there's a lot of unfortunate numbers of insane white girls all over the internet who are saying weird stuff like this that's very poorly reasoned and argued. Also, hi Trip, good to see you.
I hope you're recovering from the Borman reading.
That was a few days ago. She's fine.
I listened to that earlier today. That was fun.
Oh dear.
They haven't gone to the AON tour, the AON part yet.
Oh, I just skipped around to my favorite
that was
bits.
a very abridged reading.
Yes.
Why did I do
Another
that?
human to take care of, or a police state monitoring your every waking breath, or seemingly responsibilities other than going to the occasional cocktail party, which he did include time for in his schedule. Brendan Gill.
Yeah, because
what's wrong with that?
Yeah, what's wrong with that? Plus, police state. Isn't that what people view modern America? The West now.
She's making a commentary that we are living in a police state right now, I think.
Run by the Democrats these days, but that's just me.
Yeah, but
you didn't
Another
have
human to take care of, or a police state monitoring your every waking breath, or seemingly responsibilities other than going to the occasional cocktail party, which he did include time for in his schedule. Brendan Gill, a journalist and associate of Campbell, criticized him in 1989, saying,
"Far from being spiritual, it is intensely materialistic. My old spellbinding friend is preaching a doctrine similar to that which Ayn Rand voiced in her novel The Fountainhead."
Gill went on to compare Campbell's
okay. I get just okay. I heavily disagree with Iran, and also Iran doesn't get Joseph Campbell either.
Ayn Rand doesn't seem to get a lot of things. Ayn Rand seemed like she's a crazy, cantankerous old woman based on the comments I've heard from her mouth.
She got traumatized by the Soviet Union and she decided to create an extreme philosophy in response to it.
Mm-hmm.
Can't blame her.
She's also kind of she's also pretty racist. Like there's a clip of her saying, "I don't believe the Native Americans have a right to live here just because they were born here."
Damn.
Yeah.
She's got a hard car.
That's why I say Ayn Rand is not a good person, and you should not espouse her philosophies. They're not very well thought out. They're mostly insane, and she herself is a terrible person.
Man, Bioshock got it right then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm Andrew Ryan. I am God of this underwater facility that I've turned into an objectivist utopia and then made fall apart in nearly only a few years.
I am Andrew Ryan.
Hopper.
Campbell.
Yep.
The
Yeah.
selfishness and greed of Reagan, Thatcher, and Wall Street yuppies.
The most conspicuous members of
Wall
our
Street yuckies? That's
Yuppies.
funny.
Lack of a better word.
Yuppies. Okay.
Good.
Already, we're not starting off on a great journey together. But it's not only the big ideas that Campbell contradicts himself on constantly. It's even small details like, are computers good or bad? He recounts this tale of President Eisenhower going into a room full of computers.
He puts the
What does a room full of computers have to do with patterns in myth?
Yeah, let's just continue.
James,
Yeah.
Is there a God? And there's all those lights flashing and wheels turning and things like that. And after about 10 minutes, a voice comes forth, and the voice says, "Now there is."
Ooh, spooky. But moments later,
It was a
they're talking
joke.
about how those
He was just
little microchips-
fascinated by it. That's what
Well,
That's what I seem to come up with. That is
Have you ever
exactly
lived inside one of those
that's my
things?
interpretation.
You can't believe it. It's a whole hierarchy of angels, all on slats. Those are miracles. Those are miracles. They are.
So are
He grew up when computers were a thing.
Yeah.
So, also, it's a very different thing, and it's a story by this isn't even his perspective. It's Dwight D. Eisenhower, our story. That's not an inconsistency. And also, here's the thing: computers kind of eventually have become the god of this modern era.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah, we can't have this conversation right now. Sort of like this, video conversation without it.
She couldn't make the video without a computer.
Yeah, and she's not even really saying that. She's saying that Joseph Campbell is saying that computers have replaced God, and it's like he's not wrong, but he's also saying that technology is a miracle.
It is. It very much is.
So there's no inconsistency. She's just insane.
I mean, it put us on the moon, for Christ's sake.
Yep. It's like he's not saying computers are good or bad, and besides, he's not even stating his own opinion. And with the story of now there is a God thing, he's talking about he's talking about the whole technology replacing God is the idea, the Friedrich Nietzsche idea. The man replaces God in his own mind and recreates it in his own image. I don't really see a problem.
No, there's no problem here.
are computers good or bad? Well, if they're challenging my worldview of a God in heaven, they're bad. But if they're doing what I want, they're tiny, tiny little angels.
Where do you get that from?
Okay, you really need to have someone to go over and that, or you need to be in a padded cell for a bit.
Let's go with the latter.
Yeah.
You need somebody to talk to you. It's just like, Maggie, no, that's not what he said.
Yep.
Like, is this whole video just stream of consciousness or something?
Most likely.
It feels like it is.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, here's something that he said. I'm going to remove the context and just present it here. Like,
yeah, and
like
also
that's what he thinks, and then here's also what he thinks. And that's what he thinks.
And then, like, she tries to add some form of structure, but
it doesn't work.
Yeah. And plus, like, where's the hero's journey part? Like, most of this video was just talking about the man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Are you an angel? Is the machine of society bad? Or proof of man's greatness? While he criticizes
Why
the
can't it be
machine,
both?
individual fighting against the state.
And this is the threat to our lives. We all face it. We all operate in our society in relation to a system.
He also romanticizes the massive New York skyscrapers that epitomize the cold, inhuman machine of American capitalism.
What?
Okay, what's
Maggie, do you know why the skyscrapers were made?
And let me just let's just see. I want to see. It's a quote. There's a quote.
You can tell what's informing the society by the size of what the building is that's the tallest building in the place. The temple was built right in the center of the city. Yeah, I mean, this was a proper...
Hey, that's my place.
Organization. That's the spiritual center from which all flows in all directions. And then the
or at least an hour away
from
the
temple. And now the biggest thing is the office building that takes care of the affairs of both the temple and the political building. That's the history of Western civilization.
I really cut this down.
Mm-hmm.
That isn't really talking about capitalism.
Maybe you shouldn't have cut it down.
Also, let me tell you what the story of the church, the building in which that you are talking about. We moved the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints were kicked out of Missouri, Ohio, and Illinois because of a combination of religious pressure and political pressure. Missouri at least didn't like the fact that we were anti-slave state. They didn't want to be an anti-slave state. This was a big problem for them. In Ohio, they just didn't like the new religion coming in. In Illinois, they didn't like the fact that Joseph Smith was running for profit, and there was a lot of stuff left over from the Missouri thing. Free stuff. There was also a price on Joseph Smith's head. There were people that were legitimately trying to kill Joseph Smith so that they could bring his head to Missouri and get a cash reward. It was so bad in Missouri that there was an actual executive government-mandated kill order placed on us. You could kill a Mormon and it would be treated no differently than the slaughtering of a cow. Because of this, we moved out west, and for 40 years, we built a temple because we were primarily a religious organization. And we weren't even a state until 20 to 30 years later. Then we build the Capitol building, and now because they have a big organization and an office, that means an office is necessary. Maggie, do your frickin' research.
Well, it's more Joseph Campbell, but Maggie for using that. But that is so stupid, though.
Yeah.
It is better to have a spiritual center than enter first and then move into a political center to a certain extent. There's at least like a moral core. That's one of the major reasons why the French Revolution spiraled out of control, was because
if Maggie Mae Fish would totally support the French Revolution.
Yeah, until she got guillotined.
Mm-hmm.
Which
she wouldn't even accept the guillotine.
Which she probably would be.
Yeah, if Robespierre got guillotined, Maggie Mae Fish would also get guillotined.
I'm pretty sure I would get guillotined.
We would all get guillotined. Everybody gets guillotined. The guillotine has no such. The guillotine does not believe in anything remotely resembling justice.
The guillotine is the law.
Yep. Let's finish this up. I
By
thought
the
we
way,
would get more.
Tyler Preston's comment: Maggie is the female Onision. That is hilarious.
You know
what?
That's
Tyler,
accurate.
You're not wrong.
That's unfortunately accurate. Yeah, Maggie Mae Fish is
Yeah.
nuts. Is very, very crazy like that.
Has she written a book yet?
I don't think so.
Oh
I'm
my
scared
God, I need
to
to
look.
Jesus Christ.
You know what? I'm just gonna look.
Because he keeps jizzing about skyscrapers.
In New York now, the debate is over who can build the tallest building, not to praise, but to build the tallest building.
Yeah, and they are magnificent. We are a financial power center, and look what we can do. It's a kind of virtuosic acrobatic stunt.
Ah, yes. I am so inspired when the beautiful Chicago.
That's not what he's saying.
Yeah, and you could context.
Yeah. Also, I think he's referring to New York, not Chicago. That's just me.
There's also the thing of he's saying this is an acrobatic stunt. This is a sign of our power, because the only place because nowadays it seems as though America is kind of in competition with places like, I believe the tallest tower is the Beijing.
It's in the Middle East, I think. It's like the United States, the United Emirates.
Yeah, I know there's a really tall building in Ghost Protocol.
Oh, what was it? The hotel, the Saudi Arabia hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Burj Khalifa.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the tallest buildings. It's currently the tallest structure in the world.
I could not find any evidence that Maggie Mae Fish has written a book.
Oh, thank
She's
God.
been acting in a bunch of stuff.
Well, if she had written something, we would have some good content to riff on.
That would be like unique torture.
Yep.
Chicago
Space is
skyline
warping. Time is
is
bendable.
interrupted by a phallic Trump tower blocking view of Lake.
You don't like Trump.
Wow.
Stop being obsessed.
He's out of office. Why does it matter?
Lady.
He's being investigated by the FBI.
All towers are phallic shaped. What the fuck is your problem?
Michigan.
Literally
Brendan Gill
they're
directly compared Joseph Campbell with the character Rourke from Ayn Rand's The Fountainhead.
The creator lives for his work, says Rourke. He needs no other men. His primary goal is within himself. The man who attempts to live for others is a parasite in motive and makes parasites of those he serves. 2 years before The Fountainhead was published, young Campbell was saying at Sarah Lawrence, the artist, insofar as he is an artist, looks at the world dispassionately, without thought of defending his ego or his friends, without thought of undoing an enemy, troubling neither with desire nor loathing.
Those two are not related.
Yeah.
You cannot
seems like a
connect
long
those
sentence.
two. They are not
Yeah.
the same. In fact, they
You
are
just
fundamentally
literally
different.
contradicted. You literally contradicted yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, he hasn't done that before. What a miracle.
In fact, it just seems like it seems like he's the office. The only part that you think that it was in connection is sort of not caring for others, but Campbell is just describing an artist, like someone who's making art. Like when he added as an artist, so as somebody who's making art of some sort.
Like, just look at these two quotes side by side. It's like, the creator lives for his work. He needs no other men. Nowhere does Campbell even say anything like that. His primary goal is within himself. Okay, maybe you can say that applies. The man who attempts to live for others is a parasite in motive.
By the way, there's
parasites
ellipses
of those. Yeah, I know. And makes parasites of those he serves. Joseph Campbell is entirely neutral about what you do about your friends or your enemies.
Yeah, and also ellipses means that there's words that was cut out. What were the words that were cut out?
That is
probably like how? What was it? A paragraph? Like it seems like you just took a random quote.
At least regular fish have taste.
That's true.
Indeed. Let's finish this up.
You know, a single regular fish has more value than all of Maggie Mae Fish's content.
Yeah.
All right, so
Ultimate pick-me girl. The final boss of girl bosses.
Before you can do things for people, you must be the kind of man who can get things done. But to get things done, you must love the doing, not the people.
In everything that...
Yeah, you love your work. As in a separate entity.
that is such a worded sentence.
Yeah.
That's because it was written by Ayn Rand.
Who is a dysfunctional writer. Like, just her prose alone, from the prose that I've seen, is amateur trash.
Oh my, yeah, I'm not sorry. That is such a it's not even clear. What do you mean, person? What do you mean, Iran? What do you mean, Ran? Now I kind of want to do like a stream where we go over Iran quotes.
Yeah.
That Campbell does. He claims that a small, certain archetype, that of the brooding, unfeeling, that
You must love the doing, not the people.
in everything that Campbell does, he claims that a small, certain archetype, that of the brooding, unfeeling, stoic man, is the everyman. Everywhere.
Citation needed. Citation needed.
That's a lie.
That is not what he wrote. In fact, that's the relationships are very important in the Hero with 1,000 Faces.
Mentor relationship, love interest relationship. Yeah, the atonement with the father is a whole step.
Which is usually ignored.
Yeah.
And his relationship with, of course, the women and his mother. Gift from the goddess is usually represented the mother.
Self, and where he doesn't see a hero. Here's Brian.
That's a lie.
You know, I feel part of me feels like you're misquoting Brian Atterbury here, because
Atterbury again.
The problem with Campbell's monomyth as an analytical tool is that it always works because it simplifies every story to the point where nothing but the monomyth is left. It ignores the many mythic stories that do not have questing heroes, and it leaves
You
out
don't
the
need questing
culturally
heroes for a
defined
journey.
values and symbols that make each tradition unique.
because
Doesn't
that's
matter.
the point.
Doesn't
That's
matter.
the whole
Again, culturally defined. That exists around the structure.
You can fit anything into the hero's journey that isn't. You could fit aliens into the hero's journey. Finding Nemo, you can fit into the hero's journey.
I could do a hero's journey analysis of Prey.
Or a hero's journey analysis of Edge of Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even bad movies does have a hero's journey.
Yeah, like Shark Tale.
Yeah, or in like you can easily make arguments for a hero's journey in awful movies.
Yeah, Shark Boy and Lava Girl is very hero's journey-esque.
Mm-hmm.
I'm even talking about the modern ones, like like Kenobi, or like modern, like even the stuff that is awful. There's a hero's journey. But the thing is about the hero's journey, again, it's not a structure. It's an observation of myth in general. That's the point of not putting in the stuff that makes it other myths interesting. It was just an analysis of. It's literally just an analysis of all myths about what they have in common.
Exactly. It's an analysis of your commonalities. It doesn't talk about culturally defined values because those are specific to the individual cultures.
It's like me just imagine if you were assigned to do an analysis of the common themes of fall of civilizations, of moments in history where a powerful civilization falls, and find out what they have in common. There's a podcast, by the way, called Fall of Civilization Podcast. It's very good. It's very good podcast. I highly recommend it. But you could do an analysis of those civilizations, and you could make a hero with 1,000 faces, like a civilization fall 1,000 times, 1,000 falls of a civilizations, and make a book that summarizes it. That does not mean that that it can be applied to every single one. It's just a comprehensive observation of a bunch of them.
Or even that it is a prescriptive, this is how civilizations fall. It's just observances throughout history.
Much like the hero's journey. People just use it because it's helpful.
And if you know, and if you are aware, and generally, you've kind of imbibed the hero's journey for most of your life, just by virtue of cultural osmosis before you even start writing. Like, if you watch just any old hero's journey, any old movie, you will notice bits of the hero's journey. And if you decide to go the creative route, you will just see it going into your own writing. But if you're aware of it, you can kind of say, okay, I can take this, that, and the other from it, and I don't need to replicate the entire thing. It generally helps to have some kind of structure to help guide you through the process early on, and then you can kind of play around with it. This just demonstrates a fundamental misunderstanding of just how this whole thing works.
Please put up the last comment.
Self-help guidebook when it's not. Yeah, that's...
He very much needs a few hundred self-help guidebooks, among other things, my friend.
Well, I know for a fact she hates 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. And hates Jordan Peterson himself.
Of course she does.
She needs to collect the For Dummy books.
Yeah. Seems that way.
Yeah, she probably needs pretty serious psychological help, but I doubt her psychologist, if she probably has a psychologist, it's just not helping.
I know the first step. Get off social media. Read a book.
Read the dummy books. Read Logic for Dummies.
Read an actual book. Not just the dummy books.
Make her start small.
Yeah.
Start thinking about the books you read, maybe.
Machines, skyscrapers, computers. What was that other thing that he was obsessed with? Oh, that's right. Everyone's being too hard on the Nazis. Yeah.
What?
You heard that right.
Okay. I'm gonna need an intermission to throw up all of those marshmallows that I ate.
You are not a good actress, by
One
the
thing
way.
I love about making videos online is exploring
And that's
different
it.
types
The
of
rest is an
men.
ad.
What? So there's a part 2?
I think there might be.
Oh no.
Oh no. What did I just sign up for?
Pain. Agony. But
Yes, because suffering is good for the soul.
I can't follow that logic.
You wish that was true.
Yeah.
Well, well, I think we will call it good for today. Thank you guys for coming. We did cover this in less time than Smudcast did. They took
Really?
about 4 hours. We took only 2 hours and 20. I might just retitle this video because I thought we'd get through more stuff. But in the end, no. And we'll eventually do... We've covered the Daddies Part 2 video, but we've never covered the Daddies Part 1 video, and I have a whole new crew that I'm working with, and I started, is I wanted to torture Neff Champion back in the day, because Maggie Mae Fish is her most hated person ever, I think, apart from Ryan Johnson.
I can see why. I'm trying to see for her. And now she just... Like, so wait, is her part 2 is just going to be Joseph Campbell and Nazis? Really? When I think Joseph Campbell, I think of Hail Hitler.
She definitely did a T.S. Eliot is a Nazi video.
What?
Who's that?
He's the guy whose writings were utilized, whose poems were used as Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cat's inspiration.
Oh, that one. Okay, I remember that one.
Right. Okay.
But TSL is a well-known literature writer.
Yep. But before we go, a little bit of a teaser, maybe something we'll do in the future. Behold, the combination.
Speaking on Elliot is a difficult matter, for he is long and gone and can't pen a rebuttal. And being a cat should, in my opinion, even matter, though he made claims about us that weren't even subtle. We're white and we're black and we're medium size. We're three-named and blind and possess jeweled eyes.
So is she a furry then, essentially?
Yeah, I would guess.
Yeah.
All right, Black Tap Walkers, we're going on a crusade.
I'm
No.
not
We
sure
don't need a
what the...
crusade. We need a horse heresy ninja.
No, that means half of us would become furries. No,
exactly.
So I'm not sure what the point of this whole aesthetic is.
Because it's either in the Cats video.
I would assume that it's either to be funny or to be artsy, but it's neither. So
I think I've repressed this memory, and now it's coming back. No.
Yeah, if there's ever a reason to be scared of furries, she's it.
Yeah.
Did Elliot ask a cat how we self-identify? I am but a cat. I have but one name, and all of them mine, not for human eyes.
Comes to mind.
And if Elliot so boldly laid us to claim, allow a cat to rebuttal with my thoughts on his lies.
Oh, that's the normal bit.
That's normal? Oh.
Cats are famously unmoved by others, each cat its own king of its own land. Socialist we'd be called by others, a bad word I've heard when uttered by men.
No. Hey, no, I'm serious. Hey, come on!
Elliot was like many
That was
others,
just
a
rude.
silly human, we'd say, afraid of his own kind, his own people, his own face, who believes poetry can only say what has already been said explicitly, who strangely believed there are traits by ethnicity. But he's long
I'm sorry to
gone.
believe
Cannot
this
utter
version
a
of
word.
T.S.
His
Ellis.
may be better from all that I've heard. But since he never reached out for comment, never went tit for tat, you know of Elliot from the view of a cat.
Look, if she is revealed to be a furry, I am not surprised, and no, that's a turn off. No.
Maggie
Why
is
is the
making
Catwoman film more? Yeah, why is the Catwoman film more tolerable than this?
The one with Halle Berry.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Because at least it's bad. At least it's so bad it's good. That is just cringe.
My
At
eyes.
least Halle Berry was very self-aware about how bad the movie was.
Yeah, you
Halle
can't.
Berry is kind of cool, honestly.
Yeah, and also like she came and accepted her Razzie Award in person for Catwoman.
That's actually a sign of a good woman.
Yeah.
And
that is pretty legendary.
Yeah, it's like, and also like I think the filmmakers were kind of aware how bad the movie was, since makeup that makes that if you use it, it rots your skin, but if you use it long enough, you get super powered and breakable skin, and
that is immediately cut by nails.
Yeah.
They should have done the opposite, where it's you do it too much.
And then
it's a French movie.
It's as well as
that explains it. That explains it.
As well as the male. They didn't believe me when I say that there are cat women throughout time.
Oh yeah,
that
was a thing in that movie.
And that the reason why they rejected the ladies' ideas was because of male academia.
So when's that film coming up for the next live stream then?
I think it's going to be First Night in Sword in the Stone. Well, yeah, I watched it last night with Trip and the rest, and Trip started out liking it and remembered that she liked it, and then she watched it and she was like, "Man, this film is kind of bad."
Right now, I'm feeling apathy right now.
Apathy for
Maggie,
at least it will be at least is not as bad as Maggie.
Yeah,
because nothing is as bad.
Anything right now, anything I'll give it a 10 out of 10. Now, you can send me all crap, and I'll probably give it 10 out of 10 with my review. At least it's not Maggie Mae Fish as a cat.
Game of Thrones Season 8 is better than Maggie Mae Fish as a cat.
Star Wars The Last Jedi is better than Maggie McFish.
And The Rise of Skywalker.
Indeed.
Especially The Rise of Skywalker. We all know that's the greatest movie ever. Right? A movie that split the fandom. Totally not united against a single enemy.
Ghostbusters 2016 was better than Maggie McFish.
Dark Phoenix was better than Maggie McFish.
We got pages of this, don't we?
Terminator Genesis.
The John Borman script.
The John Borman script.
No, that's the exception. John Borman's worse.
Yeah, so actually the Tolkien geek, at my suggestion, he'd never heard of this.
Oh no.
And I sent it to him, and he pulled it up and said, "This is the most bizarre thing I have ever read. Be glad that this was never made a movie."
I can't blame him.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry, babe. I didn't even talk that much through it about why it was bad. You were pointing out things that were bad before I did.
For once,
Wait,
not done.
is this about the sword and the stone?
No, First Night. Sword in the Stone is pretty good. First Night has some problems.
Is it in the 1995 one? With the one with Sean Connery in it?
Yep.
Never seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll be seeing it tomorrow, right?
As will I.
Yeah. But I think that's...
Oh, hey, Liam Cunningham is in it.
Oh, I...
Hey! Oh no! Oh no!
Manos
Moog,
and-
Lord of Blood is better than Maggie Mae Fish.
Yep. Anyway.
That's an Elden Ring reference.
Anyway, I think that this feels appropriate.
Okay. Let me make one thing perfectly clear. This is not jumping the shark. I'll repeat that again. This is not jumping the shark. Oh, no. This is jumping the shark, coming back, shooting it in the balls, raping it, eating its flesh, consuming its soul, mounting its head on the wall, and then doing the same thing to 12 more fucking